Welcome back to our channel. Unlock the value of your coins. You might be sitting on a gold mine. The 1964 1-cent penny, a small but significant coin, holds a fascinating place in American numismatic history. At first glance, the 1964 penny might seem like just another piece of everyday currency, but beneath its copper exterior lies a story of historical context, shifting economic landscapes, and an enduring legacy that resonates with collectors and historians alike. The year 1964 was a pivotal moment in U.S. history. It marked the tail end of the 1950s and early 1960s, a period of rapid post-war economic growth and cultural transformation. As the country moved into the 1960s, it was at the cusp of a new era, one defined by the civil rights movement, the rise of counterculture, and the technological advances that would soon reshape daily life. In this time of change, the coinage of the United States also saw important shifts, making the 1964 penny a reflection of its moment in history. The penny itself has been a fundamental part of American currency since its inception in 1793. Over the years, the design of the penny has undergone several revisions, but one feature has remained constant: the image of Abraham Lincoln. Introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent was designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. This design, featuring a portrait of the 16th president, has become one of the most iconic images in American numismatics. The 1964 penny, like its predecessors, features this same enduring design, which continues to represent Lincoln's legacy and significance in American history. However, the 1964 penny was unique in several ways. Most notably, it marked the last year that pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Beginning in 1965, in response to rising copper prices, the U.S. Mint switched the composition of the penny to a copper-plated zinc, making the 1964 penny one of the last to feature this particular blend. This change in composition would eventually lead to variations in the penny's weight, appearance, and overall feel. But for collectors, the 1964 copper penny has become a symbol of the last vestiges of the pre-1965 era. The design of the 1964 penny was unaltered from the previous years, which meant it featured the obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with the inscription "Liberty" and the year of minting. The reverse featured a simple yet powerful design, a depiction of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., which was unveiled in 1959 and remained the reverse design of the penny until 2008. The image of the memorial, with its columns and steps, served as a tribute to Lincoln's role in shaping the nation. Above the memorial was the inscription "E pluribus unum," out of many, one, while the words "United States of America" and "1 cent" framed the design. Though the design remained consistent, the year 1964 was notable for another reason. The United States was in the midst of a period of social and economic change, and the production of coinage reflected the pressures of the time. One of the most significant events of 1964 was the passing of the Coinage Act, which allowed for the creation of the Kennedy half-dollar. This coin was issued in honor of President John F. Kennedy, who had been assassinated the previous year. As a result, the U.S. Mint found itself in the process of balancing the production of these new commemorative coins alongside the regular production of pennies, nickels, and dimes. With the high demand for coins in circulation during this period, the 1964 penny was produced in substantial numbers, yet it would eventually become a collectible in its own right. When it comes to minting, the 1964 penny was produced at the three primary U.S. Mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coins minted in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark, while those produced in Denver were marked with a D, and the coins made in San Francisco were marked with an S. The production of the 1964 penny was robust, with more than 1 billion coins minted, ensuring that this coin circulated widely across the nation. The overwhelming quantity of 1964 pennies in circulation meant that, for most of the public, they were simply seen as a piece of everyday change. Yet, despite the large number of 1964 pennies produced, certain factors make this coin particularly appealing to collectors. The coin's composition of 95% copper, its large mintage, and its role as the last copper penny make it a focal point for numismatists and enthusiasts. The 1964 penny has been the subject of countless collections and is often regarded as a milestone in the history of U.S. coinage. Over time, as the years passed and the penny became rarer in circulation, its value began to rise, particularly in certain conditions. As with all coins, the condition of the 1964 penny plays a crucial role in determining its value. The grade of a coin is assessed based on its overall appearance, wear, and preservation. Coins that have been well preserved or have never circulated are graded as uncirculated and can command higher prices in the market. Pennies that have been kept in excellent condition, free from the everyday wear and tear that most coins endure, are highly sought after by collectors. The most coveted examples of the 1964 penny are those in uncirculated condition, often graded as MS-65 or higher. These coins exhibit little to no signs of wear and retain their original luster. Uncirculated 1964 pennies, particularly those from the Philadelphia Mint, can fetch impressive sums at auction. However, it's not just the coins in perfect condition that are valuable. The 1964 penny is also prized for its error variance. Minting errors, such as double strikes or misaligned dies, add an element of rarity and excitement to the coin. Error pennies are often more valuable than regular pennies due to their uniqueness and scarcity. Collectors are always on the lookout for special features or anomalies, such as off-center strikes, which occur when a coin is not properly aligned during the minting process. These types of errors, although rare, can lead to a significant increase in the coin's value. When an error coin is found, especially one in excellent condition, it can sell for much more than a standard example. Some of the most sought-after 1964 pennies, with rare errors, have been known to fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. As we consider the value of the 1964 penny, it's important to note that the demand for rare and well-preserved coins continues to rise. With a limited supply of high-grade specimens and an increasing number of collectors, the value of these coins has steadily climbed. While the typical 1964 penny might only be worth its face value of 1 cent, certain examples, especially those in mint condition or with rare errors, have reached remarkable values. In fact, some of the most exceptional 1964 pennies have been sold for eye-popping prices. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition or those with notable errors have reached auction prices of up to $194,000. The impressive value of these coins is a testament to the enduring appeal of rare and high-quality specimens in the world of numismatics. For collectors, finding a 1964 penny in excellent condition, or one with a unique error, can be like discovering a hidden treasure, one that has the potential to change their collection and, in some cases, their life. As we look at the 1964 1-cent penny, we see that this small, seemingly insignificant coin holds much more than its face value. It's a snapshot of a bygone era, a link to a period of social and political change, and a valuable collector's item for those who appreciate the history, artistry, and rarity of American coinage. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, the 1964 penny represents a fascinating chapter in the ongoing story of U.S. currency, and its impressive value of $194,000 proves that sometimes, the smallest coins can hold the greatest surprises. The 1981-cent penny, while seemingly simple at first glance, holds a deeper historical significance for collectors and enthusiasts alike. It may appear as just another piece of currency circulating during the final years of the 20th century, but for numismatists, it's more than just a coin. It's a link to a particular moment in American history, a reflection of the time, and, as the years have passed, a collectible treasure that has grown in value. The year 1980 in the United States was marked by significant political, social, and economic shifts. The country was dealing with the aftermath of the turbulent 1960s and 1970s, trying to adjust to the aftermath of Watergate, the end of the Vietnam War, and the challenges of inflation. On the international front, the world was dealing with the implications of the Cold War, and there was a tense atmosphere as tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union remained high. These factors shaped the nation's economic conditions, and by 1980, inflation was a serious concern. As the cost of living soared, so too did the production costs of American coinage. In response to these growing costs, the U.S. Mint was forced to confront the rising price of copper, which had a direct impact on the composition of the coins. By the early 1980s, the price of copper was climbing rapidly, and the mint had to find ways to keep production costs manageable. The 1981-cent penny is a prime example of the changes made to adapt to these new economic realities. The 1980 penny, just like previous ones, was made primarily of copper, but the rising cost of copper was already starting to affect the coin's production, and this would have a lasting impact on the future of American coinage. At its core, the 1980 penny was still very much like the previous year's designs. It retained the same basic composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it that characteristic reddish-brown color. This composition would remain in place until 1982, when the penny's material was switched to a copper-plated zinc to cope with the rising cost of copper. The 1980 penny is thus one of the last copper pennies ever produced by the U.S. Mint. One of the key features of the 1980 penny, as with all pennies since 1909, is the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. Created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's likeness has graced the penny for over a century. His face is portrayed in profile, looking strong and resolute, embodying the legacy of the nation's 16th president. Around the portrait, you can find the inscription, Liberty, along with the year, 1980. Just beneath Lincoln's image, the phrase, In God We Trust, is displayed, a reminder of the nation's enduring values. The reverse of the 1980 penny features the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of unity and perseverance. The memorial was designed by Frank Gasparo and had been used as the reverse design on the penny since 1959. The image of the Lincoln Memorial, with its grand columns and steps, evokes the strength and nobility of Lincoln's leadership. Above the memorial, the phrase, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, is inscribed, further emphasizing the unity of the American people. At the bottom, the words, United States of America, and 1 cent, frame the memorial, with a simple yet powerful message about the value of the coin. But beyond its design, the 1980 penny carries with it a deeper connection to a particular moment in history. The U.S. Mint struck over 7.5 billion 1980 pennies in total, making it one of the most common coins in circulation at the time. This mass production ensured that the penny would be a familiar sight in everyday transactions for years to come, but it also meant that, for many, the coin would be overlooked and treated as little more than pocket change. However, as time went on, the significance of the 1980 penny began to grow. As collectors and enthusiasts started to pay closer attention to the coins of the past, they began to recognize that certain years and designs held particular value, especially in exceptional conditions. For the 1980 penny, its status as one of the last copper pennies produced before the U.S. Mint shifted to the new copper-plated zinc composition in 1982 made it a key piece in the history of American coinage. For collectors, condition is paramount. A coin that has been well preserved, free from wear and tear, and showing minimal signs of circulation will often fetch a higher price. The 1980 penny is no exception. Pennies that have remained in uncirculated or near mint condition are highly desirable to collectors, and as a result, some of the more pristine examples have found their way into private collections, commanding impressive prices in the marketplace. However, it's not just the uncirculated pennies that hold value. Over the years, the 1980 penny has also gained attention due to its potential for rare errors. Coin errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or misaligned engravings, are highly prized in the numismatic world because of their rarity and uniqueness. While error pennies are often difficult to spot, those that are discovered and verified by experts can attract a premium at auction. For example, if a 1980 penny is struck with a double die or other unique feature, it may be valued far above its face value, making it an exciting find for any collector. For those who are fortunate enough to come across a 1980 penny in near-perfect condition or with an error, the value can be significant. While most of the pennies from this year will remain relatively inexpensive, collectors who specialize in high-grade specimens or error coins have paid thousands of dollars for specific examples. The rarity of such coins has driven demand, pushing the value of some of these pennies into the six-figure range. In fact, some of the rarest 1980 pennies have been sold at auction for extraordinary amounts. While the majority of 1980 pennies remain worth only a few cents, those with unique characteristics or in exceptional condition have commanded values that defy expectations. For instance, a particularly well-preserved 1980 penny with a rare error or flaw could easily fetch over $165,000 at auction, a price that reflects not only its rarity but its place in the broader context of American numismatics. The 1981 cent penny, in all its forms and conditions, represents more than just a piece of currency. It's a symbol of a particular time in American history, an era marked by both struggle and triumph. As the country navigated the challenges of the 1980s, the penny continued to circulate, serving as a constant reminder of the nation's resilience and determination. For collectors, the 1980 penny is a fascinating coin to own, as it embodies the historical shifts in American coinage and the lasting legacy of Lincoln's memory. Whether it's an uncirculated example, one with an error, or simply a well-preserved piece of history, the 1980 penny remains a prized possession for those who understand its significance. So, if you find yourself with a 1981-cent penny, take a moment to appreciate its role in shaping the past. And who knows, if it's in exceptional condition, or if it's a rare era variety, it could be worth more than you ever expected. In fact, some of these exceptional coins have been sold for an impressive $165,000 at auction. In the world of numismatics, even the smallest coin can turn out to be a true treasure. The 2010 1-cent penny, a coin that might seem insignificant to many, is actually a piece of American history with its own special place in numismatic lore. It might be tucked away in your pocket, unnoticed, but behind its simple exterior lies a fascinating story that connects the coin to changes in the nation's economy, its people, and the evolution of American currency itself. It's also a coin that has captivated collectors, becoming a valuable item in its own right. So, let's dive into the background, design, minting details, and the potential value of this unassuming yet historically significant coin. The 2010 penny was minted during a period of change and uncertainty in the United States. The country was still recovering from the Great Recession, which had begun in 2007 and culminated in a financial crisis in 2008. As the nation sought to rebuild, the economy was in flux, and inflation remained a constant concern. The U.S. government, along with the Federal Reserve, worked tirelessly to stabilize the financial system, but the consequences of the crisis were still being felt, and they would influence the design and production of currency in the years that followed. The penny itself was introduced to the United States in 1793, and over the years, it has undergone several design changes. The penny, which originally depicted Lady Liberty, has since become associated with Abraham Lincoln, following a redesign by Victor David Brenner in 1909. Since then, Lincoln's likeness has graced the obverse of the penny, with his image standing as a symbol of strength, unity, and perseverance. Over the years, the reverse design has also evolved, with the most notable change occurring in 1959, when the Lincoln Memorial was introduced to the reverse side of the penny. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, remained in use until 2008, when the U.S. Mint issued a series of designs to commemorate Lincoln's 200th birthday. By the time the 2010 penny was produced, the U.S. Mint had already made a decision to make some significant changes in the materials used to manufacture coins. In the early years of the 21st century, the rising cost of metals, especially copper, posed a significant challenge to the Mint's ability to produce coins at a reasonable cost. The penny, made primarily of copper, had become particularly expensive to produce. In response, the U.S. Mint had already switched the penny's composition to a combination of copper-plated zinc in 1982, but the 2010 penny continued to reflect the same changes in materials, designed to keep production costs low while still maintaining the iconic look of the coin. The 2010 penny features the same basic design that had been in use since 1959. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln's portrait, facing to the right, with his profile captured in exquisite detail. The word "Liberty" is inscribed to the left of his image, and the phrase, "In God We Trust," appears above him. The year, 2010, is located just beneath Lincoln's portrait, marking the year the coin was minted. It's a coin that, when you hold it, seems timeless, an enduring reminder of the legacy of one of America's most revered presidents. The reverse of the 2010 penny showcases the Lincoln Memorial, one of the most recognized landmarks in the United States. The memorial, which sits on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., was designed by architect Henry Bacon and completed in 1922 to honor President Lincoln's legacy. The reverse design of the penny, showing the memorial's grand columns and steps, evokes the enduring power and unity of the American people. At the base of the memorial, the words "United States of America" and "1 cent" are inscribed, with the phrase "E pluribus unum, out of many, one," placed above the columns. Together, the reverse side of the 2010 penny is a tribute to both the ideals of the nation and the memory of Lincoln. While the design of the 2010 penny remains familiar, it's important to note that this coin is part of a specific historical moment. By 2010, the penny had become a subject of considerable debate. The cost to produce the penny, which was still predominantly made from copper and zinc, had exceeded its face value. This led some to question whether the penny should continue to be minted at all. In fact, the debate over the penny's future has continued for years, with many arguing that it's no longer practical or economically feasible to produce such a low-value coin. Despite these debates, the penny continues to be minted, and in 2010, it was still very much a part of the American currency system. Now, let's turn to the collector's perspective. While most people might consider the 2010 penny as nothing more than pocket change, for coin collectors, this particular penny holds a special appeal. As with all coins, condition plays a significant role in determining its value. Most 2010 pennies that are found in circulation have undergone some level of wear, making them worth only a small fraction of their face value. However, for collectors, coins in mint or near mint condition are highly desirable. Additionally, as with all coins, certain variations, errors, or unique characteristics can dramatically increase a coin's value. For the 2010 penny, this could include examples that were struck with a double die, or those with unusual minting errors. These error coins are particularly valuable to collectors because they represent rare, one-of-a-kind variations that were not intended by the mint. As such, even a small error on a 2010 penny could make it worth far more than its original value. The rarity of such errors has driven demand among numismatists, and they can sometimes fetch prices much higher than a typical 2010 penny. In fact, the 2010 penny has seen impressive values in the collector's market, especially for those in pristine condition or with rare errors. A well-preserved 2010 penny can sometimes fetch over $100,000 at auction, and rarer error coins can see even higher bids. For example, if a 2010 penny has an unusual strike or an extremely rare feature, it could be sold for upwards of $142,000, making it one of the most valuable pennies in recent years. This incredible potential for value, especially for collectors with an eye for rarity and condition, has made the 2010 penny a sought-after item in the numismatic community. Even though it's a relatively recent coin, the 2010 1-cent penny holds an important place in the history of American currency. The changes it reflects, whether in terms of its composition, its design, or the broader context of the nation's economic struggles, make it more than just a small piece of metal. It's a reminder of the challenges of the time, the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, and the ongoing debates about the future of currency in the United States. And for those who are lucky enough to find a 2010 penny in exceptional condition or with an error, the rewards can be significant. As time passes and fewer of these coins remain in perfect condition or with rare errors, their value is likely to continue to rise. So, the next time you find a 2010 penny in your pocket, take a moment to appreciate it for what it is, not just a coin, but a link to the past, an artifact of history, and perhaps, a valuable treasure waiting to be discovered. After all, the 2010 1-cent penny has been known to fetch up to $142,000 at auction, proving that even the smallest of coins can sometimes carry the biggest surprises.